Now we put this stuff all together, and thus the title of this next section, 3.6. 3.5, you may have noticed we skipped because 3.5 was horizontal asymptotes, which we already discussed before, and we'll discuss that also here. So what I mean by putting it all together is now we're going to look at a function and look at everything we know about its graph. So this first video is going to focus on stuff we learned before that we're just going to do a quick review on. So, and what I mean by putting it all together, here's a cheat sheet that you can print out. I posted this on one of the days. This is everything we're going to look for in a graph: X-intercepts, Y-intercepts, vertical asymptotes, horizontal asymptotes, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And then all the stuff we just learned this chapter: mins, maxes, increasing, decreasing, and everything. So we're going to start again with the intercepts and asymptotes, and we're going to do two examples, this one right here and this one right here. So here we go. For this function, to find x-intercepts of any function, you set the function equal to 0 and solve for x. So the intercepts for this function, we plug in 0 for y, solve for x. So I'm going to, you notice that there's a common factor of -3. So this would be 9 minus 10x plus x squared, which factors? I'm going to reorder the factors. Factors of 9 that add up to -10 are x minus 9, x minus 1. So to solve this, -3 doesn't equal 0, so you could ignore that. X minus 9 equals 0 when x equals 9. And x minus 1 equals 0 and x equals 1. So these are the x-intercepts. All you do. Set it equal to 0 and solve for x. Y-intercepts. Y-intercepts are easier, especially when we have functions of x. You just plug in 0 for x. So when you do that with this function, it's really easy. Y equals -27. That's the y-intercept. You don't really have to go through all this. If you look back at this original function, if you're plugging in 0 for x, anything with an x cancels out, so you can just go -27. Next are asymptotes. Now, vertical asymptotes where the bottom equals 0. This is a polynomial function. You know, polynomial functions look like this. So, and this obviously is a parabola, but polynomial functions don't have asymptotes. So vertical asymptotes for this and horizontal asymptotes, they're going to be none. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this definition just so we're used to it. Values of x, vertical asymptotes are values of x that make the bottom equal 0. The bottom of this rational function is 1. 1 doesn't equal 0, so there are none. Horizontal asymptotes, you should review all of these. I won't read them to you. But we're looking at degrees. Again, this is over 1, which is really, if you're looking for the degree of the bottom, it's 0 because there is no x. But more mathematically, it's really 0 to the, or x to the 0, which is 1. So the degree of the top on this function is bigger, so there is no horizontal asymptotes. So that's an easy polynomial function. The next example we're going to do is this rational function, which are usually a little bit more complicated. But nothing changes. You find these intercepts and asymptotes the exact same way. So what I like to do first when I see something like this is I'm going to factor it, because clearly the top factors. It will make your math usually a little bit easier. I'm going to continue factoring difference of squares, and that should help me get these answers a little bit more quickly. So the X-intercepts are where the top equals 0, or where the function equals 0. So when you set this function equal to 0, it's 0 when the top is 0. So really what it comes down to is we're trying to figure out where the top equals 0. Since it's factored, this is going to be very simple. That's x equals 0, x equals -3, and x equals 3. Those are the X-intercepts. Y-intercepts. You set the bottom, you set x equal to 0 for Y-intercepts. So when you set x equal to 0, the top is going to be 0, obviously. The bottom is going to be 8. So y equals 0 is the Y-intercept. Easy. Next, we'll look at asymptotes. Vertical asymptotes are values of x that make the bottom equal 0 and not the top. So x squared plus 8 equals 0. X cubed plus 8 equals 0. X cubed equals -8. X equals the cube root of -8, which equals -2. So x equals -2 is your vertical asymptote. Make sure it doesn't make the top 0, but we already figured out the top is 0 at 0 and plus or minus 3. So it doesn't make the top 0, so it is a vertical asymptote. Finally, horizontal asymptotes. For this rational function, you notice that the degree of the top and the bottom are the same. So there is a horizontal asymptote of y equals the leading coefficient of the top, which is 3, over the leading coefficient of the bottom, which is 1. So y equals 3 is the horizontal asymptote. And that's it. That's your quick review for asymptotes and intercepts. The next video, we're going to look at a function and do everything. So that's going to be fun. You can look forward to that. By everything, I mean everything, all of this stuff. So I'll see you then.